In a small room adorned with yellow wallpaper and floral decorations, the tension was palpable. Mrs. Caldwell, an elderly woman with a stern face, sat upright in a wooden chair, her gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. Her sharp eyes bored into her son, Daniel, who stood near the window, his shoulders slumped and his gaze averted. "Daniel, we can't go on like this," Mrs. Caldwell declared, her voice cold and firm. "Sophia's condition requires more care than we can provide. It's time we moved her to the countryside." Daniel's heart sank. He glanced at Sophia, his beautiful wife, sitting silently in her wheelchair. At 29, she had been struck down by a stroke, leaving her unable to move without assistance. The once vibrant woman he married now seemed a shadow of her former self, her eyes filled with an unspoken plea. "But, Mother," Daniel protested weakly, "Sophia is my wife. I promised to take care of her." Mrs. Caldwell's lips thinned in disapproval. "And you are taking care of her by ensuring she gets the best possible care. Her aunt's house is peaceful, and Clara can look after her. You know we can't afford a full-time nurse here." Daniel's resolve wavered. He felt the weight of his mother's words and the guilt gnawing at his conscience. Sophia's eyes followed the conversation, her silent presence a constant reminder of the decision's gravity. Daniel knelt beside her, taking her hand. "Sophia, I think it's best for you. You'll be in a familiar place, and Clara will be there to help you." A single tear slid down Sophia's cheek. She couldn't respond, but her eyes spoke volumes. They reflected fear, sadness, and a sense of betrayal. Daniel squeezed her hand, his heart breaking at the sight. The next morning, Daniel and Mrs. Caldwell packed Sophia's belongings. Each item placed in the suitcase felt like a betrayal, a tangible representation of Daniel's failure to protect his wife. Mrs. Caldwell moved with efficient detachment, her mind set on the practicalities. "Everything's ready," Mrs. Caldwell announced, closing the last suitcase. She turned to Sophia, forcing a smile. "You'll see, dear, the fresh air will do you good." Daniel loaded the suitcases into the car, his movements slow and heavy. He helped Sophia into the back seat, securing her wheelchair beside her. As they drove away from their home, Sophia stared out the window, her face pale and expressionless. The journey to the countryside was long and silent. Daniel stole glances at Sophia through the rearview mirror, each look filled with remorse. He tried to console himself with the thought that this was the right decision, but the nagging doubt persisted. When they finally arrived, Clara was waiting at the gate. "Welcome, Sophia. We'll take good care of you here," she assured, though her eyes flickered with uncertainty. Daniel and Mrs. Caldwell helped settle Sophia into her aunt's old house. The familiarity of the surroundings did little to ease the tension. Sophia's eyes roamed the room, taking in the faded wallpaper and the musty smell of forgotten memories. Mrs. Caldwell turned to Daniel, her expression softening slightly. "It's for the best, Daniel. She'll be well cared for." The house stood forlorn, its once vibrant garden now overgrown with weeds. The paint on the walls peeled in long strips, and the air inside was thick with the scent of decay and neglect. Sophia sat by the window, staring out at the desolate landscape, her heart heavy with sorrow. Clara, her caretaker, was a woman of rough edges. She moved with a brusque efficiency, her manner more suited to handling livestock than a fragile human being. The first days were the hardest. Sophia tried to communicate, her eyes pleading for understanding, but Clara's responses were curt and dismissive. "Eat your soup, Sophia," Clara ordered one evening, slamming a bowl onto the table beside her. The broth sloshed over the sides, and Sophia flinched at the harsh sound. She tried to lift the spoon, but her hands trembled, the effort almost too much to bear. Clara sighed impatiently. "For heaven's sake, you need to eat," she muttered, more to herself than to Sophia. With rough hands, she scooped up a spoonful of soup and brought it to Sophia's lips. The gesture was mechanical, devoid of any genuine care. Days turned into weeks, and Sophia's despair deepened. She spent her days in silence, her only company the occasional chirp of birds outside the window. The loneliness was suffocating, a constant reminder of her isolation. She missed Daniel terribly, but each passing day made his absence feel like an abandonment. One afternoon, Clara entered the room, her face set in a frown. "Time for your bath," she announced. Sophia's heart sank. Bath time was a daily ordeal, a harsh reminder of her dependence. Clara's touch was never gentle, and the cold water only amplified her misery. As Clara wheeled Sophia into the bathroom, Sophia's eyes caught sight of a small framed photograph on the dusty shelf. It was a picture of her aunt, smiling warmly, surrounded by blooming flowers. The sight brought a fresh wave of tears to her eyes. Her aunt had always been her safe haven, a source of unconditional love and support. Now, that safety seemed a distant memory. In the evenings, Sophia would try to read, her eyes struggling to focus on the words. Books had always been her escape, but now they seemed to taunt her with stories of lives she could never live. She would close the book, staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of her reality pressing down on her. One particularly rough day, Sophia attempted to reach for a glass of water on the table. Her hand slipped, and the glass shattered on the floor. The noise brought Clara storming into the room, her face flushed with anger. "Can't you do anything right?" Clara snapped, grabbing a broom to sweep up the shards. Sophia's heart ached at the harshness of Clara's words. She wanted to scream, to tell Clara how much she longed for her old life, but her voice remained trapped inside her. That night, Sophia lay in bed, tears streaming down her face. She felt utterly alone, abandoned by the man she loved and at the mercy of a woman who saw her as a burden. As the weeks passed, Sophia's spirit grew more fragile. Each interaction with Clara was a battle, each day a struggle to find some semblance of hope. The isolation gnawed at her, eroding the strength she once took pride in. She began to wonder if Daniel would ever come to see her, or if he had already moved on with his life, forgetting the vows he once made. The autumn leaves whispered secrets in the wind as Sophia stared out of the window, her mind a maelstrom of thoughts. The countryside, though remote and seemingly tranquil, had become a place of intense personal struggle. Yet today, as the golden light of the setting sun cast long shadows, hope flickered in Sophia's heart. Today, Sophia waited eagerly for her friend's arrival, a plan brewing in her mind. The door creaked open, and Clara's heavy footsteps echoed down the hall. "Someone's here to see you," she grunted, wheeling Sophia into the living room. Isabella stood there, her presence a beacon of strength. She rushed to Sophia, hugging her tightly. "Sophia, it's so good to see you." Sophia's eyes sparkled with a mix of relief and determination. She squeezed Isabella's hand, her grip firm despite her frail appearance. Clara, sensing that her presence was no longer required, mumbled something about chores and left the room. Once she was gone, Isabella sat down beside Sophia, her face serious. "What's the plan?" Sophia took a deep breath, her eyes burning with resolve. "We're going to make them believe I'm getting worse. We need a doctor who can help us." Isabella nodded, her mind already racing. "I know someone who can do that. He owes me a favor. We'll get the medical reports we need." Days later, under the guise of a routine visit, Dr. Lawson arrived. He was a trusted contact of Isabella's, and after a private conversation, he agreed to the plan. Clara was none the wiser, believing the visit to be a mere formality. As Dr. Lawson examined Sophia, he glanced at Isabella and nodded subtly. "Her condition is indeed deteriorating. She needs constant care." Clara frowned, crossing her arms. "She already gets that here." Dr. Lawson continued, "It might be wise to consider moving her to a facility where she can receive more intensive treatment." Clara's eyes narrowed, suspicion flickering briefly before she dismissed it. "We'll manage." After the doctor left, Isabella stayed behind, helping Sophia to her room. "We did it," she whispered. "The reports will be ready soon." Sophia smiled, a rare expression of genuine hope. "Thank you, Isabella, for everything." Over the next few weeks, Clara's treatment of Sophia grew harsher. The fabricated reports had planted a seed of doubt in her mind, making her less attentive, less caring. One evening, after a particularly rough day, Sophia decided it was time to act. With a deep breath, she summoned all her strength and slowly, painstakingly, rose from her wheelchair. Her legs trembled, muscles unused to the strain, but she stood, defying the limitations that had bound her for so long. Clara entered the room just in time to see Sophia standing. Her eyes widened in shock. "What on earth?" "I'm not as helpless as you think," Sophia said, her voice steady despite the effort it took to remain upright. Clara's face twisted with a mix of disbelief and anger. "You've been lying this whole time." Sophia took a step forward, her determination unwavering. "No more lies, no more mistreatment. Things are going to change." Isabella arrived shortly after, finding Sophia standing and Clara fuming. She rushed to Sophia's side, supporting her. "Sophia, you did it." Sophia nodded, her eyes locked on Clara. "It's time for me to take control of my life." In the days that followed, Sophia's progress was rapid. She practiced walking every day, growing stronger with each step. Clara, now fully aware of Sophia's determination, begrudgingly assisted but with a newfound respect. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the village in a warm golden glow, Sophia and Isabella sat together, planning their future. "You're amazing, Sophia," Isabella said, admiration clear in her voice. Sophia smiled, feeling a sense of freedom she hadn't known in months. "I couldn't have done it without you, but this is just the beginning. I'm going to rebuild my life, piece by piece." The morning sun cast a gentle glow over the village, its light filtering through the canopy of trees that lined the dirt roads. Sophia stood on the porch, taking in the serene beauty of her surroundings. It had been weeks since she had risen from her wheelchair, and each day brought new strength and determination. As she stepped off the porch, she saw Ethan approaching, tall and rugged, with sun-kissed skin and a ready smile. He was a local farmer who had recently become an unexpected ally. They had met a few days after Sophia's confrontation with Clara, and his kindness had quickly become a source of comfort. "Morning, Sophia," Ethan greeted, tipping his hat. "Need any help today?" Sophia smiled, appreciating his unwavering support. "Actually, yes. The garden needs some serious attention." Ethan nodded, glancing at the overgrown mess that once was a vibrant garden. "Let's get to work, then." They spent the morning clearing weeds and pruning the wild bushes. The air was filled with the scent of freshly cut grass and blooming flowers. Sophia found the physical activity therapeutic, each tug of a weed and each cut of a branch symbolizing her reclaiming control over her life. As they worked, their conversations flowed easily. Ethan spoke of his farm, the challenges and rewards of rural life, and his dreams for the future. Sophia listened, finding solace in his stories and sharing snippets of her past. "Why did you come to the village?" Ethan asked, pausing to wipe sweat from his brow. Sophia hesitated, the memories still raw. "My husband, we thought it would be better for me here after my stroke. But it hasn't been easy." Ethan's eyes softened with understanding. "Life has a way of testing us, but you're stronger than you know." Sophia smiled, touched by his words. "Thank you, Ethan. You've been a great help." By midday, the garden was transformed. Sophia stood back, admiring their handiwork. "It looks amazing. I almost forgot how beautiful it could be." Ethan chuckled, his eyes twinkling with pride. Nature has a way of bouncing back, just like people. Their friendship deepened over the next few weeks. Ethan visited regularly, assisting Sophia with various tasks around the house. He repaired the creaky porch steps, fixed the leaky roof, and even helped rearrange the furniture to make the space more comfortable for her. One afternoon, as they sat on the porch drinking lemonade, Ethan turned to Sophia with a serious expression. "You know, Sophia, I've been thinking, you have a lot of strength and determination. Have you considered starting something new here, in the village?" Sophia looked at him, intrigued. "What do you mean?" Ethan leaned forward, his enthusiasm palpable. "A small business, maybe. You have a keen mind and a lot of potential. We could find something that lets you use your skills." The idea sparked a light in Sophia's eyes. She had always dreamed of starting her own business, but had put those dreams aside after her stroke. Now, with Ethan's encouragement, the possibility seemed within reach. "I'd like that," she said softly. "But what kind of business?" Ethan smiled, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "We'll figure it out together. This village needs more life, more opportunities, and I think you could be the one to bring that change." Their conversations often circled back to this idea, and together they began brainstorming and planning. Sophia found herself energized by the possibilities, her mind buzzing with ideas. One evening, as the sun set in a blaze of orange and pink, Sophia and Ethan walked through the village, discussing potential ventures. The village was quiet, the only sounds the rustling of leaves and the distant chirping of crickets. "It's peaceful here," Sophia remarked, feeling a sense of contentment. "I've grown to love this place." Ethan nodded, his gaze fixed on the horizon. "It's home, and with your help, it could become even better." In the weeks that followed, they continued to work on their plans, their bond growing stronger with each passing day. Sophia felt a renewed sense of purpose, her heart lighter and her spirit unbroken. Together, they were ready to embrace the new beginnings that lay ahead. The morning air was crisp and invigorating as Sophia walked the familiar path to Ethan's farm. The sun had just begun to rise, casting a golden hue over the sprawling fields. Ethan was already hard at work, his figure silhouetted against the horizon as he tended to the crops. "Good morning, Ethan," Sophia called out, her voice carrying a newfound energy. Ethan looked up, his face breaking into a warm smile. "Morning, Sophia. Ready to dive into some numbers?" Sophia nodded, feeling a sense of purpose. Over the past weeks, she had thrown herself into helping Ethan with the farm's financial management. Her background in business was finally being put to good use, and she was determined to make a difference. Inside the farmhouse, they sat at the wooden kitchen table, which was now covered with papers and ledgers. Sophia spread out the documents, her fingers deftly flipping through pages of expenses and revenue. "I've been looking at the accounts," Sophia began, her tone serious. "There are a few areas where we can cut costs and increase efficiency. For starters, the equipment maintenance costs are way too high. Have you considered sourcing parts from a local supplier?" Ethan listened intently, his eyes focused on Sophia. "I haven't, but it sounds like a good idea. What else do you suggest?" Sophia leaned forward, her eyes bright with enthusiasm. "We need to diversify. Right now, you're mainly focusing on crops, but there's potential for livestock too. I did some research, and there's a growing demand for organic eggs and dairy in nearby towns." Ethan's face lit up with excitement. "You think we can manage that?" "With the right planning, absolutely," Sophia replied confidently. "We can start small and expand as we see success." Over the following days, Sophia and Ethan worked tirelessly to implement the new plans. Sophia's sharp mind for budgeting and planning proved invaluable. She created detailed spreadsheets tracking every expense and income and devised strategies for growth. One afternoon, as they took a break from their work, they sat on the porch overlooking the farm. The fields were lush and green, a testament to their hard work and dedication. "Ethan, I can't tell you how much this means to me," Sophia said softly. "Being able to contribute, to make a real difference, it's given me a new sense of purpose." Ethan turned to her, his expression sincere. "You've done more than contribute, Sophia. You've brought new life to this farm, to me." Sophia felt a warmth spread through her at his words. "We make a good team, don't we?" "The best," Ethan agreed, his eyes twinkling with affection. Their partnership continued to flourish, each day bringing new challenges and rewards. Sophia's business acumen and Ethan's farming expertise complemented each other perfectly. They began to see tangible results, healthier crops, increased sales, and a growing reputation in the community. One evening, as they were finishing up the day's work, Ethan paused to look at Sophia. "I've been thinking, you should have an official role here, partner, co-owner, something that reflects all you've done. Sophia was taken aback. Ethan, I don't know what to say. That's incredibly generous. Ethan shook his head. It's not generosity, Sophia, it's fairness. You've earned it. Sophia smiled, feeling a deep sense of gratitude and belonging. Thank you, Ethan. I'd be honored. Their bond grew stronger with each passing day. The mutual respect they shared blossomed into something deeper, a quiet affection that neither of them could ignore. They often found themselves stealing glances at each other, their unspoken feelings hanging in the air like a sweet promise. The village was cloaked in the warm hues of late afternoon as Sophia sat on her porch, sipping a cup of tea. The tranquility of her new life was a stark contrast to the chaos she had left behind. Just as she began to relax, a familiar yet unwelcome figure appeared on the path leading to her home. It was Daniel. He approached with a determined stride, his face etched with frustration. Sophia's heart tightened, but she remained seated, refusing to let fear take hold. Sophia, Daniel called out as he neared. We need to talk. Sophia set her cup down and stood, her expression a mix of surprise and resolve. What are you doing here, Daniel? Daniel stopped a few steps away, his eyes scanning the improvements she and Ethan had made to the house. I heard you've been doing well for yourself. I came to see if it's true. Sophia crossed her arms, her posture defensive. Why do you care now? Daniel's eyes narrowed. Because we're still married. What's yours is mine, and I have a right to know what's going on. At that moment, Ethan appeared from behind the house, his presence calm and steady. Is everything okay here? He asked, his gaze shifting between Sophia and Daniel. Daniel turned to face Ethan, his expression hardening. And who's this? Ethan stepped forward, standing beside Sophia. I'm Ethan, a friend and business partner. Daniel's eyes flashed with anger. Business partner? So, it's true. You've built a life here without me. Sophia felt her anger rising. You left me, Daniel. You and your mother abandoned me. Don't you dare come here now and try to claim what I've worked so hard to rebuild. Daniel scoffed. Abandoned you? We thought it was best for you to be here. And now I see you've done just fine without us. Sophia's hands clenched into fists. I didn't just do fine, I fought for this. I clawed my way back from despair, and I won't let you take that away from me. Ethan placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Sophia doesn't owe you anything, Daniel. She's moved on, and so should you. Daniel's face turned red with frustration. You think you can just cut me out like this? I have rights. Sophia took a deep breath, her resolve hardening. The only right you have is to leave. You have no claim here. This is my life now, and you're not part of it. Daniel looked between Sophia and Ethan, realizing he was outnumbered. This isn't over, Sophia. You'll hear from my lawyer. As Daniel turned and stormed off, Sophia felt a surge of relief. She watched him go, the weight of his presence lifting with each step he took away from her home. Ethan turned to her, concern in his eyes. Are you all right? Sophia nodded, a small smile forming. I'm fine. Better than fine. For the first time, I stood up to him. Ethan's eyes softened with admiration. You are incredible. I'm proud of you. Sophia exhaled deeply, feeling the tension release from her body. Thank you, Ethan, for being here. Ethan pulled her into a comforting embrace. Always. As they stood together, the sun dipping below the horizon, Sophia felt a newfound strength. She had faced her past and emerged victorious. With Ethan by her side, she knew she could handle whatever challenges lay ahead. Inside, as they prepared dinner, Sophia and Ethan discussed their future plans. The confrontation with Daniel had solidified Sophia's determination to protect the life she had rebuilt. They talked about expanding the farm's operations, exploring new markets, and even considering a potential future together beyond business. I've been thinking, Ethan said, handing Sophia a plate. Maybe we should formalize our partnership, make it official. Sophia looked at him, a mix of surprise and joy in her eyes. You mean? Ethan nodded. I want you to be more than just a partner in business. I want you to be my partner in life. Tears welled up in Sophia's eyes, but this time they were tears of happiness. I'd love that, Ethan. They embraced, a sense of peace and hope filling the room. The past had tried to reclaim Sophia, but she had fought back with the strength she had found in herself and in Ethan. As they sat down to eat, the village outside settled into the quiet of night. Sophia glanced at Ethan, gratitude and love shining in her eyes. She had faced her demons and won, and now she was ready to embrace the new life she had fought so hard to create. The courtroom buzzed with quiet anticipation as people settled into their seats. The atmosphere was thick with tension, the kind that only accompanies high-stakes confrontations. Sophia sat at the plaintiff's table, her heart pounding in her chest. She glanced at Isabella, her friend and lawyer, who was organizing her papers with meticulous precision. Are you ready? Isabella asked, her voice a calming presence in the sea of uncertainty. Sophia nodded, taking a deep breath. I am. Let's do this. Daniel sat across the room, his expression a mix of determination and desperation. Beside him was Mrs. Caldwell, her stern face set in a mask of disapproval. She whispered something to Daniel, who nodded grimly. The judge entered, and everyone rose. After the formalities, the proceedings began. Daniel's lawyer, a slick man in an expensive suit, was the first to speak. Your Honor, my client, Mr. Daniel Caldwell, has been wronged. He is entitled to a fair share of the assets accrued during their marriage. We will show that Mrs. Sophia Caldwell's success is in part due to Mr. Caldwell's support. Isabella stood, her gaze steady. Your Honor, we will demonstrate that Sophia's achievements are solely her own, built from her hard work and resilience after being abandoned by her husband. The judge nodded, signaling for the first witness. Mrs. Caldwell took the stand, her sharp eyes scanning the room. Mrs. Caldwell, please describe your relationship with Sophia, Daniel's lawyer began. Mrs. Caldwell's voice was icy. Sophia was a burden. She needed constant care, which my son and I provided until it became too much. Isabella approached, her voice firm but respectful. Mrs. Caldwell, you've testified that you and your son provided care. Can you elaborate on the nature of this care? Mrs. Caldwell's lips thinned. We made sure she had what she needed, but it was clear she wasn't getting better. Isabella nodded, then flipped through her notes. Isn't it true that Sophia was left in the care of a local woman, Clara, whom you paid minimally? Mrs. Caldwell shifted uncomfortably. We did what we thought was best. Isabella turned to the judge. Your Honor, we have evidence that Sophia's recovery was due to her own efforts and the support of her friend, Ethan. I call Clara to the stand. Clara shuffled to the witness stand, avoiding eye contact with Mrs. Caldwell. Isabella approached her gently. Clara, can you describe Sophia's condition when she arrived in the village? Clara nodded, her voice barely above a whisper. She was very weak. It was hard to watch. And did you receive any guidance or substantial payment from Mr. or Mrs. Caldwell to care for her? Clara shook her head. No, ma'am. I did what I could, but it wasn't much. Isabella turned back to the judge. Your Honor, this is a clear indication that Sophia's progress was not due to Daniel's support, but her own resilience. I'd like to submit medical records showing her recovery timeline. The judge reviewed the documents, nodding. Accepted into evidence. Next, Isabella called Ethan to the stand. He walked confidently, his presence a reassuring beacon for Sophia. Ethan, can you explain your role in Sophia's recovery? Ethan nodded. I helped her with physical tasks and supported her emotionally. She's incredibly strong and determined. Daniel's lawyer sneered. Isn't it true that you have a personal relationship with Mrs. Caldwell? Ethan met his gaze unflinchingly. Yes, and it developed long after her recovery began. My support was as a friend first and foremost. Isabella then played recordings and presented financial documents showing Sophia's independent efforts to rebuild her life and finances. Each piece of evidence painted a clear picture. Sophia's achievements were hers alone. Finally, Sophia took the stand. She spoke calmly, her voice filled with quiet strength. I was left in a remote village, forgotten. Everything I've built, I've done on my own. Daniel has no right to any part of it. The courtroom fell silent as the judge reviewed the evidence. After what felt like an eternity, he looked up, his expression thoughtful. Based on the testimonies and evidence presented, it is clear that Mrs. Sophia Caldwell's successes are her own. The court rules in favor of Mrs. Caldwell. Mr. Daniel Caldwell's claims are denied. A collective sigh of relief swept through Sophia's side of the room. Daniel slumped in his seat, defeated. Mrs. Caldwell's face was a mask of anger and disbelief. Isabella turned to Sophia, a triumphant smile on her face. We did it, Isabella said softly. Sophia nodded, tears of relief and joy streaming down her face. We did. The village was bathed in the soft light of a new dawn, the air fresh and filled with the promise of new beginnings. Sophia stood on the porch of her home, a sense of peace settling over her. The legal battle was behind her, and she felt a renewed sense of freedom and hope. Ethan joined her, his presence a comforting constant. It's a beautiful morning, he remarked, slipping his arm around her waist. Sophia leaned into him, smiling. Yes, it is. It feels like a new chapter in our lives is beginning. They shared a quiet moment, watching the sunrise before heading inside to start their day. The farmhouse, once a place of struggle, now felt like a home filled with love and possibilities. Isabella arrived later that morning, her face glowing with joy. We did it, Sophia, she exclaimed, pulling her friend into a tight embrace. I'm so proud of you. Sophia laughed, the sound light and carefree. I couldn't have done it without you, Isabella. Your support meant everything. They sat around the kitchen table, enjoying a celebratory breakfast. The room was filled with laughter and stories, a stark contrast to the tension that had once hung in the air. As they talked, the future began to take shape in their minds. Ethan and I have been thinking, Sophia said, her eyes meeting his. We want to start a family. This place feels like the perfect home for that. Isabella's eyes widened with delight. That's wonderful news. You both deserve all the happiness in the world. Ethan nodded, his face beaming. We've worked hard to build this life, and now it's time to share it with a new addition. The days that followed were filled with planning and dreams. Sophia and Ethan discussed everything from nursery designs to baby names, their excitement palpable. They worked together on the farm, preparing it for the future they envisioned. Each task, from planting new crops to repairing the barn, was done with a sense of purpose and joy. One evening, as they sat by the fireplace, Ethan took Sophia's hand. I've never been happier, he said softly. Building this life with you has been the greatest adventure. Sophia squeezed his hand, her heart full. I feel the same way, Ethan. I can't wait to see what the future holds for us. Their love deepened with each passing day, strengthened by the trials they had overcome. They found comfort in the routine of their daily lives, knowing that they were building something lasting and beautiful. Sophia's strength and determination, once forged in hardship, now blossomed in the warmth of their shared dreams. Isabella remained a close friend and confidant, visiting often and sharing in their joy. She watched with pride as Sophia embraced her new life, her transformation a testament to resilience and love. As the months went by, the farmhouse began to change in subtle ways. A room was transformed into a nursery, filled with soft colors and handmade touches. The garden flourished under their care, a symbol of the life they were nurturing. One sunny afternoon, Sophia and Ethan sat on a blanket in the garden, enjoying a picnic. The sky was clear, and the air was filled with the sounds of birds and the rustling of leaves. Sophia leaned back, resting her head on Ethan's shoulder. Do you ever think about how far we've come? She asked, her voice thoughtful. Ethan nodded, his gaze fixed on the horizon. Every day. It's amazing what we've built together. Sophia smiled, a contented sigh escaping her lips. I wouldn't change a thing. Their conversation drifted to dreams of the future, of the child they hoped to welcome soon. They spoke of bedtime stories, family traditions, and the values they wanted to instill. Each word was a promise, a commitment to the life they were creating. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the garden, Sophia felt a sense of completeness. She knew that the journey had not been easy, but it had led her to this moment of pure happiness. With Ethan by her side, she was ready to embrace whatever came next. That evening, as they stood together on the porch, watching the stars twinkle in the night sky, Sophia whispered a silent thank you to the universe. She had found her place, her home, and her heart was full of love and hope. Ethan pulled her close, his voice a gentle murmur in the quiet night. Here's to our future, Sophia. Whatever it brings, we'll face it together. Sophia nodded, her eyes shining with tears of joy. Together, she echoed, knowing that their love would guide them through all the days to come. The village, once a place of struggle and uncertainty, had become a sanctuary of new beginnings and endless possibilities. And as Sophia and Ethan looked toward the future, they knew that they had everything they needed to build a life filled with happiness and love. The crisp autumn air carried the scent of fallen leaves and ripe apples, a gentle reminder of the changing seasons. Sophia and Ethan's home, now a beacon of warmth and love, buzzed with activity and anticipation. The farmhouse had never felt more alive, filled with the joyful preparations for the arrival of their baby. Sophia stood in the nursery, a hand on her growing belly as she admired the room they had lovingly prepared. Soft pastel colors adorned the walls, and handmade wooden furniture added a touch of rustic charm. A mobile of stars and moons hung above the crib, casting playful shadows in the afternoon light. Ethan entered the room, his face lighting up at the sight of Sophia. It's perfect, he said, wrapping his arms around her from behind. Just like you envisioned. Sophia leaned into him, a contented smile on her face. I can't wait for our little one to see it. They spent their days finalizing preparations, each task bringing them closer together. Ethan installed shelves while Sophia folded tiny clothes and arranged toys. Their conversations were filled with dreams and plans, each word a testament to their deepening bond. One evening, as they sat by the fireplace, Ethan took Sophia's hand. Have you thought about names? Sophia nodded, her eyes twinkling. I have a few ideas. What about you? Ethan smiled. I was thinking about something meaningful, maybe after someone who's inspired us. Sophia's heart swelled with love. I like that. How about Grace for a girl or Thomas for a boy? Ethan's eyes softened. Grace for the grace that's brought us through so much, and Thomas for the strength we've found together. I love it. Their days were a blend of practical tasks and tender moments. They met with their lawyer to finalize the legal matters surrounding their partnership and the future of the farm. Isabella accompanied them, her support unwavering. I'm so proud of you both, Isabella said after their meeting. You've built something beautiful here. Sophia squeezed her friend's hand. We couldn't have done it without you, Isabella. As the months passed, the farmhouse became a hub of excitement. Friends and neighbors visited, offering gifts and well wishes. The community, once a distant backdrop, now felt like an extended family. One chilly afternoon, Ethan and Sophia took a walk through the village. The trees were ablaze with color, their leaves crunching underfoot. They stopped by the local bakery, where the owner greeted them with a warm smile. You two must be so excited, she said, handing them a freshly baked loaf. A new baby is such a blessing. Sophia nodded, her cheeks flushed with happiness. We are. It feels like everything is falling into place. Ethan squeezed her hand, his eyes filled with love. It's all thanks to you, Sophia. You've made this place a home. That evening, they sat on the porch, wrapped in blankets, watching the stars twinkle in the clear night sky. Sophia rested her head on Ethan's shoulder, feeling a profound sense of peace. "We've come so far," she murmured. Ethan kissed the top of her head. "And we've got so much more to look forward to." Their anticipation grew with each passing day. They attended prenatal classes together, learning the ins and outs of childbirth and parenting. The experience brought them even closer, solidifying their commitment to each other and their future family. One night, as they lay in bed, Ethan turned to Sophia. "I've been thinking about what kind of parents we want to be." Sophia smiled in the darkness. "Kind, patient, loving, just like we've been with each other." Ethan nodded, his voice tender. "I want our child to feel the same love and support that we've found together, to know that no matter what, they are cherished." Tears welled up in Sophia's eyes, her heart overflowing with love. "We're going to be great parents, Ethan. I just know it." As the final weeks approached, their preparations took on a new urgency. The nursery was ready, their plans set, and their hearts full. They attended their last legal meeting, finalizing the partnership that would secure their family's future. Back at the farmhouse, they celebrated with a quiet dinner, toasting to their future with sparkling cider. As they clinked glasses, Sophia felt a flutter in her belly, a gentle reminder of the life they were about to welcome. "To our family," she said, her eyes shining with joy. Ethan smiled, his gaze filled with love. "To our family." The first light of dawn gently illuminated the village, casting a serene glow over the landscape. Inside the farmhouse, the atmosphere was charged with excitement and anticipation. Sophia lay in bed, her face glowing with both exhaustion and joy, cradling their newborn baby in her arms. Ethan sat beside her, his eyes fixed on the tiny bundle of life they had created. "She's perfect," Ethan whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "Our little Grace." Sophia smiled, tears of happiness spilling down her cheeks. "Yes, she is. Welcome to the world, Grace." The baby stirred, her tiny fingers curling around Sophia's thumb. The room was filled with a profound sense of peace and fulfillment, the culmination of their journey and the beginning of a new chapter. Later that day, Isabella arrived, her face radiant with joy as she entered the nursery. "Oh, Sophia, she's beautiful," she exclaimed, gently touching the baby's hand. Sophia beamed. "Thank you, Isabella. We're so happy she's finally here." Isabella sat down beside them, her eyes shimmering with pride. "You two have come so far. It's incredible to see the love you've built and the family you're creating." Ethan nodded, his gaze shifting from Isabella to Sophia and then to Grace. "We couldn't have done it without you, Isabella. Your support has meant the world to us." Isabella smiled warmly. "It's been my honor to be part of your journey." As the days turned into weeks, the farmhouse buzzed with new life. Grace's cries and coos filled the rooms, a sweet symphony of the future they had dreamed of. Sophia and Ethan found joy in the small moments, Grace's first smile, the way she gripped their fingers, the gentle rise and fall of her breathing as she slept. One evening, as they sat together on the porch, watching the sun set over the fields, Sophia sighed contentedly. "I never imagined we'd be here like this. It feels like a dream." Ethan squeezed her hand. "A beautiful dream that we built together. And it's only the beginning." They spent their days balancing the demands of the farm with the joys of parenthood. Ethan took on more of the farm work, allowing Sophia to focus on Grace. Isabella continued to visit, bringing meals and offering a helping hand whenever needed. "How are you feeling, Sophia?" Isabella asked one afternoon as they sat in the kitchen, watching Grace nap. Sophia smiled, a glow of contentment on her face. "Tired, but incredibly happy. Every moment with Grace feels like a gift." Isabella nodded. "She's lucky to have you both as parents. You're building something beautiful here." As the seasons changed, Sophia and Ethan marked each milestone with gratitude and celebration. Grace's first laugh, her first steps, and her first words were all moments of joy that they cherished deeply. Their love for each other and their daughter grew stronger with each passing day. One sunny afternoon, the family gathered in the garden for a picnic. The air was filled with the scent of blooming flowers, and the sound of birdsong provided a perfect backdrop. Grace toddled around on unsteady legs, her laughter ringing out like music. "This is what life is all about," Ethan said, watching their daughter with a smile. "Family, love, and moments like these." Sophia nodded, her eyes shining with tears of happiness. "I couldn't agree more. We've come through so much, and now we're here together." They raised a toast to their future, their glasses clinking in the warm sunlight. "To our family," Sophia said, her voice filled with emotion, "and to the journey that brought us here." As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the village, Sophia and Ethan held Grace between them, their hearts full. They reflected on the challenges they had faced, the love that had guided them, and the bright future that lay ahead. "We're ready for whatever comes next," Ethan said, his voice steady and confident. Sophia smiled, leaning into him. "As long as we're together, we can face anything." That night, as they tucked Grace into bed, Sophia and Ethan stood together, watching their daughter sleep. The farmhouse, once a place of uncertainty and struggle, was now a home filled with love, laughter, and the promise of new beginnings.